I like going hunting, just me, my hound, and my gun. Chasing them deer, rabbit, and squirrel, now that's my kind of fun. I like going fishing too, I'll go on any whim, looking for the big bass, the crappie, and the brim. Give me a wide open field to walk through. Give me an ocean so deep. I wanna ride the longest river in the world, or maybe climb the highest mountain peak.
Well, folks, we've had numerous occasions where people have got lost out hunting, or airplane crashes, or wars, or all kinds of things. And we're gonna bring you a program that we think you will find real interesting. It's gonna be how to survive in the wilderness. And for that, we got J.T. Dabbs, who is a graduate of Birmingham Southern, a botanist, and also a fellow that's worked in the scouting program the same as I have for a number of years, over 10 years, teaching folks. And if you would, J.T., tell them some of the folks you teach and some of the things you do in this survival business.
Well, I've been around, you know, in Alabama and a few other, even out of state, a few places, and have lectured with a lot of conservation groups, Birmingham Audubon Society, Sierra Club, backpacking groups, you know, scouts and school kids, and been involved in some of the outdoor education programs in Birmingham schools and places like that, and teaching.
All right, JT, we got a nuisance plant here that grows in most folks' yard, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a common type of sedge. It's the chufa, or the chuffa, as some people call it, or the yellow nutgrass.
And it does grow wild.
It grows wild. It's real common in Alabama now. People are planting it in deer plots and turkey plots, places like that.
Old turkeys love them things.
Oh yeah, they're real good, and they're good to eat by humans too. A good way to identify it is the stem is triangular. It's three sides, and you can feel it, and then of course the seeds up here.
And it's also got a grooved leaf there.
Right.
In other words, it
kind of comes out, and if you look down,
it's a V.
Kind of like, if you look down, it's kind of like a star almost, the way it spreads out like that.
Show us the nuts that come off that thing.
Well, if you were to dig one up like this and look at it, you can find these little tubers on it, like this, and they're kind of small, but you can, if you could find enough. And these aren't the best ones in the world, but if you found some...
Sometimes they have a whole handful.
Yeah, the best places to find them in loose soil, sandy soil, then they grow a lot better, and you can find a lot of them.
How about it, raw or cooked?
Raw or cooked. You can clean them up. You can also dry them and make a coffee with it. In fact, grind it up and use it like that. So it's a good little plant to know.
Okay. Nutgrass. Now what do we got right here now, JT?
Well, this is a plant that's often mistaken for another plant. This is the Indian strawberry, and you can tell it's the Indian strawberry. First, you can look at the flower, and it's a little yellow flower, and then you look at the fruit, and it kind of resembles a strawberry, but it's different. It's not pitted, doesn't have the embedded seeds.
These are sticking out on the outside.
They just stick out. They're not. It doesn't have little indentations like the strawberry. And people often mistake this for the wild strawberry, and they'll take it and they'll taste it, and if you open it up, it's white on the inside and got a lot of liquid on it. And people have eaten these, but it really doesn't say anywhere that it's an edible plant or anything.
So we just passing that on for information.
Right, because people confuse it and they eat this and they'll say, well, the wild strawberries are not any good. Well, in fact, if you do find a true wild strawberry and you look at it, it has a white flower instead of the yellow flower. And the berry, it looks like a miniature domestic strawberry, and it's just packed with flavor, real good. And if you find a lot of them, then you can a really good fruit to use in a survival situation.
I got you.
Archie, we've got the curly dock, or the yellow dock, or the curl dock here. And this is one of those plants you find in your yard a lot. You can just go out.
It's a real common weed.
Real common. You can go out and find it growing in your garden. You can find it in your backyard. You can find it growing at the edge of woods and pastures, places like that.
Anywhere it's been disturbed by people, right?
Pretty much. And it's you can eat the leaves raw, or you can cook them kind of like turnip greens, and they got a good taste. You can even use them in casseroles if you're cooking at home. And in survival situations, if you ran across it, you could use it raw. It's better when gathered in the early spring.
Well, let's say this now. We're going to rate these plants. This is something that just about anybody could find at any time. So he would be
Pretty much.
in one of the top 10.
Right. This doesn't die down. You can find it year round. You know,
and it's pretty common all over the whole country.
It's pretty common. They're all different kinds. Some are better than others, and there may be some that aren't edible, but this particular one and most of them you find in the southeast are. And there are other parts of it that are edible also.
All right, let's see what else.
If you look over here, this is the seed stalk or the flower stalk of the curly dock. And it's got these little seeds, and the Indians would just strip it off. You can see it strips off real easy.
I got you.
And they would take it and rub it in their hands and separate the seeds, or rub it in their little containers or anything like that. And you get the little seeds, and they would grind the seeds up and use it to make bread.
I see. So that'd be dock bread then, what you call it.
Right.
And you made that kind of bread too.
I've made it. It's not the best in the world, but it's something you could eat. And of course, it would take some time to get enough. You know, so if you were.
But there's plenty of it, there wasn't.
Plenty of it. You could gather lots of it and use it real easy.
Just get you a big basket full and probably wind up with what, a handful?
Sure. And use that and dry it and grind it up. It's better. It tastes better if you roast it before you grind it.
I see.
And use it to make your bread.
Okay. JT, the poke salad is probably the mainstay of all, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a good one. It's one everybody's grandmother and mothers used, you know, to cook at home. You know, a lot of people in the southeast have gathered it and used it as a vegetable. In fact, and sometimes you can even find it in store, and you can even find it canned in stores and buy it.
Yeah. Some of the folks, they told me, the old timers said if it wasn't for poke salad and possums, the South wouldn't have never made it after the Civil War.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's talk a little bit about it. Now, here's the big one right here, but this is the one.
This size, small like this, is when you want to gather it. And usually, it's in the spring when it comes up like this. And if you were to, to pull it up and look at it, it's got that purple stem, which is real common, in all of them. And the thing about pokeweed is that if it's not fixed right, it's poisonous.
Right.
But if you just cook it in water and pour that water off, then you're fine. Also, when they're real young, especially when they're real short and fat,
just barely out of the ground,
when they come up right at the base of last year's plants, you can take those things, you can pull them up, and you can peel them, and you can roll them in cornmeal and fry them like okra, or you can dip it in batter and fry it.
You're talking about the little stems.
The little stems, the little short ones. Okay, you can also make pickles and relish out of it.
Well, they tell me you can chop it up and like batter, like okra.
Right, you can do that.
Well, now let's tell them a little bit about the big plant. Now, we want to be sure and caution everybody on anything we're talking about on these edibles to know what you're doing, double check your references, or get with an expert that knows what they're doing. Now, these right here kill you right here.
Right, those can really make you sick. Those are the berries. It would take a lot, to make you real bad sick, and especially the root. If you dig up the root and look at it, it looks like a big sweet potato, something you might want to eat, but it's real poisonous. It could really make you sick real bad. I don't know of any cases of people actually dying from pokeweed, but they gotten real sick and they wish they were dead.
Well, I did a program on this one time. I had two real elderly women call me from the old country. They said they took these ripe berries and made a poke wine, and both of them had crippling arthritis real bad, and they said that they would take 2 spoonsful of the wine per day, and it just virtually eliminated their arthritis.
Right. Yeah, there are lots of medicinal properties attributed to the pokeweed. And a lot of plants.
Now, birds eat them and it don't bother them.
Birds eat them, and that's one thing to remember in survival situations. People say, well, maybe I can see what an animal eats and then I can eat it, but that's false, because a lot of animals will eat things that are poisonous. Take the box turtle, for instance. It will eat poisonous mushrooms.
And don't even bother it.
And it doesn't bother it at all. In fact, you could eat that turtle that's eating the poisonous mushrooms, you might could get sick too, and possibly die. So you need to be careful in survival situations, seeing what animals eat. Just eat what you know that's edible.
You was telling me also we could cut this, and of course you can tell that's not real tender on that coarse of plant.
Yeah, this is too coarse. You wouldn't want to eat this.
Okay. All right, let's move on out here and find us something else. These old tall weeds, they not fit for nothing, are they,
No,
JT?
but here's a good one right here, though.
All right, what's that now?
This is the Solomon seal. You can see it right here.
Solomon's seal.
Solomon's seal.
All right, how do you distinguish it now?
Well, this is about, a common average size of it, and it's got the leaflets, the little leaves on, just
every other one,
every other one right there. And when it flowers, the flowers will be hanging down right under the stem.
What color flowers are they?
They're kind of a yellowish, greenish to yellowish in color, and it has a little fruit that kind of turns black or purple in color. And it's a good wild edible. If you were to dig this up, it's got a
boy, that's got a nice
tuber
on it.
A good sized tuber on it, and you can eat that raw, or you can cook it. And
it's got notches now. What's that indicate?
Right. Well, every year as it grows, it kind of adds on to it, you know, and you can, you know, kind of almost tell how old the plant is, you know, 3 little buttons on it like that. And it's interesting, you know, it's called Solomon's Seal. That's the name of the plant.
All right.
And if you were to break where they're attached, and you can look at you can't see it clear, but the story goes that the official seal of King Solomon looked like the design.
In there, right in the end?
Right in there.
If you stamp that, that would be King Solomon's design.
Right, according to the story. No one knows if it's true, but that's just, you know, one of the old stories you hear about it. I got its name. But it's a good one, and you can usually find lots of them growing. It's got a good crisp root to it.
That's pretty edible, just like that.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
And that'll be a Solomon Seal. It's crunchy.
It's a good.
It tastes better than a potato.
Oh yeah. Makes good bread too.
All right, let's see what else we can find around in here.
Right.
And JT, these old walnut trees is always a good source of food too.
Yeah, that's a pretty common tree, you know, around old home places, edge of pastures, different places like that. It's got a pretty distinctive leaf. This is a compound leaf. If you know, this entire thing is considered the leaf.
In other words,
and then each of
these
these
takes all that to make it be called a compound.
Right, and all these are the leaflets on it. But it's fairly common. It's got a good nut on it.
Yeah, and they're hard as a devil to bust. You can bust them with rocks. This is a nut after it's had the pulp off of it. And
right.
Interesting thing about this pulp, JD, you can take that pulp, the green ones, right off the tree,
right.
And they got that thick pulp on them. You put them things in a bag, or you can sit up on the bank near a little pool of water and take a stick or something and pulverize that pulp. And there's something in that pulp that coagulates the blood in fish gills. And the Indians used to pulverize them, and they would it would come up, and it'd turn them up, and they could go pick them up, and they had the fish. And it was similar to a rotening that they use in farm ponds today.
Huh.
Works real good. There's another. You said the Buckeyes is good for that too, didn't you?
Buckeye's good for that.
What's in the Buckeye that makes them do that?
Not sure. It's a chemical in the seeds, and in that maybe a very similar to the one in walnut. I'm not sure.
I see.
But Indians used it a lot too.
You know, I see a big old persimmon tree right over yonder. Let's
Sure
go
is.
get it.
That's a good one.
Now, JT, we got to one of my favorites right here now.
Oh, mine too. This is the persimmon. Just a common persimmon you find.
Look at that big old fat one right there.
Yeah, these are good ones.
Yes, sir.
Now you wouldn't want to eat them like this.
Now you want to tell our folks what happens when you take a bite of one.
When you take a bite, your mouth puckers up real bad. You know, you just dries out. It's just horrible. You wouldn't want to do that at all. And a lot of people will turn against persimmons, and these are green, and they're
it'll draw your mouth up.
Now, as they turn orange when they ripen, but even when they're still orange and firm, they still do that. When they ripen, they get real soft and mushy. And the best persimmon is persimmon that's fallen off the tree and on the ground.
Well, they tell me the first frost is your best bet. But I have found it when you pick them up off the ground, and
when you pick them off the ground, they're good, no matter if they had frost or not.
Well, you know one rule I go by on them: if they begin to kind of wrinkle just a tad, you know, see how that's nice and firm.
Right, they wrinkle and crack.
And
start
crack a little.
And
I mean, a persimmon to me is as good as pecan pie.
Oh yeah.
I mean, raw, just like that.
Yeah, it's good.
They got some black seeds in there, but if you find a good ripe persimmon tree, or even one that's been, as long as they hit the ground and they're not fermented,
right,
you got about a month and a half of eating in there.
Yeah, you can start finding them at the end of September and gather them all the way almost up to Christmas in some parts of the country. Another thing about the persimmon leaves, you can take the leaves and you can dry them out and use it to make a tea. And it's very high in vitamin C, and it tastes somewhat like sassafras tea.
I see.
It's
Well,
it's a
that's
good,
great.
good tea to.
Well, one of them equals in the top 10 for sure.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Well, folks, we've got a very, very unusual little picnic. JT Dabbs and I got together. JT was the one that fixed it up. And we've been gathering wild edibles. And most folks read books. Now, there are a lot of books out about this, Jay. If you want to go over it,
there are a lot. So a lot of good ones are, books by, Yule Gibbons.
Right.
A lot of books like that. A lot of different field guides and things you can buy. Any outdoor survival book, they usually we got some stuff.
Here's one pretty good. I believe a fellow named JT Dabbs wrote this one, didn't he?
That's good. I recommend that one. That's a real good one.
Well, JT, give them a little bit about your background so they know you know what you're talking about. I don't mean for you to be bragging on yourself, but tell them your background, your schooling background.
Well, yeah, I've been working with edible plants and outdoor education for about 10 years. So I got started in Boy Scouts, doing it.
Probably one of the best programs in the world for boys.
Best programs for boys to get started in anything. Teach you good conservation ideals and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was there 30-something years ago, and I got Eagle Scout under Papa John Coleman, one of the greatest leaders that ever lived. We loved him just like our dads, I guess.
That's great.
He taught us a lot, and I see you quite interested in it too.
Yeah.
Now tell me about your book here now. When did you write it?
Well, I went to Birmingham Southern College and majored in biology and got more interested in it and lectured around, and they 2 years ago started teaching at the Audubon Mountain Workshop.
I see.
And they thought it would be a good idea for me to maybe get a book ready. So I got a book ready and we had it published and did that. Taught again this year and just graduated from Birmingham Southern, and I've lectured different clubs around in Alabama and other places, and school kids and whatever.
Well, let me say this about JT now. I taught a bunch of survival to the Green Berets and Scouts and all, and I thought I knew a little bit about outdoor edibles till I got out in the woods with this fella. And I tell you, Yule Gibbons and some of these other fellas has written books, but you got more practical knowledge of outdoor edibles than anybody I've ever seen. And I know for sure you're the best wild outdoor edible cook, and I don't want to take up any more of your time there. I just want you to tell them what all you've got prepared.
We'll do first, we've talked about acorns. These are just some chestnut oak.
Now this is a heavy-duty survival plant, so everybody.
Right.
This thing is if we're enjoying going out and behind our house and out in the woods and getting this, but now this is serious business we're talking about. If you got bumped out in the woods or happen to be in a war or airplane crash or stalled car or any number of emergencies, what JT's got to show you people here is things that will save your life. So listen and pay attention. Now, the acorns, you say, is one of the primary staples, or has been, of some of the Indian tribes.
And it's got tannic acid. You can see its cloth's already turned brown. And that's from the tannic.
Now, what did you do to them acorns? What's the first thing you did?
I cracked them open first. Okay. You can use a knife, whatever. Then I took them and I pounded them up.
How'd you pound them up?
You can use rocks. If you're at home, you can use a blender, food processor. I use that a lot if I'm just doing it at home, because it's good to cook at home. Makes real good bread. And that's the ground up acorn meal there.
Okay.
Okay.
Now what we're going to do with it?
You just put it in a piece of cloth, something like this, and you've got a pot of water boiling, and we'll ease it over into the water.
Okay.
And leach out some of it. And you put it in the water like this, and you just you press on it.
You're squeezing it, right?
You just squeeze it, and you can see.
That's pure tannic acid.
Pure tannic acid, that brown liquid.
All right, now how did the Indians do this, JT?
Well, they would use boiling water in some places. In other places, you can use cold water. At home, you can take a can and punch holes in the bottom of it, put filter paper in the bottom, and dump your acorns in there and hang it from your faucet and let the water drip into it overnight.
Overnight.
And that'll leach out.
All right, how long will this process take?
You can do it in about 15 or 20 minutes on this. You just keep doing it and leaching it out. And you taste it, and when it's not bitter, then, okay, and you've got it, so let's say we've got this leached out. Okay. And it's ready. You would spread it out and dry it.
Okay.
And then grind it up again and use it to make the bread like you're eating.
All right, and after you ground it up, how did you make this bread?
This is just a cornbread recipe. That's all it is, but you use acorn instead of the cornmeal.
And what else you put in there?
You put in some milk, buttermilk, and egg, and like that, and just mix it together.
If you're out in the woods, all you'd do was just heat that meal.
If you're out in the woods, you would just
on a rock.
You just heat it like that, and just make kind of like a rough patty cake or ash bread with it. It wouldn't be as good, but it'd have the nutritional value. Right, get you
all right, a real good staple. All right, JT. What about in the pan up here now?
In the pan, these are mallows.
I'm gonna call them baby okras.
Yeah, that's what they kind of look like, and it's kin to the okra, and you can see and these have been boiled, and you can see they're You break them open and they're
Slimy, just like okra, right?
okra. And you can use them in soups and stews and different areas like that. And it's good vegetable to cook.
Well, JT, it has been an absolute pleasure to have been with you today.
Wow.
I looked out in the woods and all I saw was grass and weeds and trees and shrubs. I walked out with you and a whole new world has opened up to me. And I hope our viewing audience understands the fun part, like survival for fun is kind of a little game you can play. But if you out there in a bad situation, it ain't a game.
That's right.
It's serious as a heart attack.
That's right.
And even one of these items that we've covered today might be the difference in life and death.
That's right.
And so I just really thank you and
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Appreciate your efforts too, JT. And remember, we've got JT's address and all on the end of the program here for his Alabama edibles, and I can assure you, this gentleman, this young feller, knows his business on wild edibles and survival.
That's right.
Y'all folks stay tuned again next week for some more Outdoors with Archie Phillips.